All right, good morning and welcome to our next edition of Jamf Breakfast Club. I am coming to you remotely, while not in the same town as our guest today, but I am coming to you from New York. Very excited to be here and explore this new town. But we are here today with an amazing guest, and I have an amazing co-host with me today, and I'll let her introduce herself in just a second. But again, I am Dr. Emily Frose. I'm one of the educational leadership executives here at Jamf and one of your hosts this morning. And with me today, I have Andrea. Andrea, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, guys. I'm Andrea Glick, K-12 Field Sales Manager here at Jamf. Now pass it back to you, Em.
Thanks. And we have an amazing human with us today, Andrea. I don't know if you know this about Mr. Messinger, but he has a hobby that's pretty fantastic. But I'm not going to tell everybody what it is, but I want Brian to introduce himself and tell us a little bit about his passion.
Hi, I'm Brian Messenger. I'm a steam locomotive engineer, and I'm also the Director of Classroom Instructional Technology and Student Achievement for the Sewanhaka Central HS District.
Both very exciting, very exciting. Both careers are also, they lean on technology a little bit, don't you think, Brian?
One's, 150 years old, one isn't. So I'm kind of on both ends of the spectrum here.
I love it. I love it. Well, with that, we're going to go ahead and get started with our, I don't want to call it an interview. It's more of a conversation. So as part of that conversation, I will invite our viewers to drop any questions you might have in the chat. We will be monitoring the chat as we talk today and answering your questions as we are able. So with that, let's get started with a little bit about Brian and his district. So if you could share with us a little bit about the makeup of Sewanhaka, your footprint, your Jamf solutions, that sort of thing. Just kind of paint a picture of who you are in your latest career, not the 150-year-old career. Let's talk about your current position.
Okay, so the Sewanhaka Central HS District we're just outside of New York City. We're the first school district on scenic Long Island, New York. I have to say it slowly. That way I don't sound like I'm from Long Island. And we are a 7 through 12 school district. We have 5 schools. We are home to about 8,100 students, all of whom have an iPad in their hands. We are home to about 800 faculty members, all with a MacBook Pro and an iPad in their hand. We are home to about 250 classrooms, all with an Apple TV in the classroom's hand, paired to just a regular old television on the wall. We are virtually a 100% Apple district. Our clerical staff, our custodial staff, everyone is on a Mac. We have fewer than 100 non-Apple devices in our entire school district, and they are all managed by our friends here at Jamf. As for me, how did I wind up here? I was born here when I was a 22-year-old, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed new teacher. I am a teacher. I am always going to be a teacher. If anyone asks me what I am an educator. I am not a tech director. I'm an educator. I spent 16 years in one way, shape, or form as a social studies teacher. Go social studies. And I was a teacher. I was a department chair. I was a district coordinator of social studies. And then I started transforming my classroom using technology as a pilot program. And as part of the you break it, you buy it theory, I was then put in charge of instructional technology for the district. And I've been in this role for a little over 5 years.
I love that. I also love that you recognize yourself as an educator, because no matter how far we get away from the classroom, I was in the public school system for 18 years. No matter how far I got away from the classroom, I always saw myself as an educator. And I hope everybody on this call, whether your title is, third grade, self-contained, or CTO, like I hope you still see yourself as an educator and the value you have as you still impact students. It's huge. So don't ever underestimate your title. Educator is huge. Andrea, do you have our next question?
Yeah, I do. And I love hearing your story and your journey. And I was just curious, can you tell me a bit more about how you've used Jamf in the classroom and how you were able to integrate that into the learning environment? What does that really look like?
So I've recently really got into the show New Amsterdam. Anyone watch New Amsterdam? I don't really like hospital dramas, but that one, I don't know, spoke to me. And the tagline of the show is, how can I help? And I so wish I had stolen that first, because now I feel like I'm just stealing something from a TV show and shamelessly doing it, but I'm giving them credit. And that's sort of the theme of how we use Jamf, and sort of the theme of how we try to do everything. Coming at technology from the lens of an educator, everything we do is how can we help? So it's not how can we restrict, it's not how can we lock down, it's how can we facilitate, how can we empower, how can we provide you with 450 different apps, how can we push out specialized apps to certain students who need certain specialized programs, how can we curate those apps in a way that makes them not overwhelming, because there's a lot of them. And they're not all for students. Some are just for teachers, some are just for students, some are just for certain students in certain classes. That's just the basics. How can we use Jamf to make life easy for everyone? You don't want technology to be the thing. Technology is what empowers you to be able to do all the things that helps all the students. So you don't want someone taking up their time like, well, how do I add this printer? No problem, we'll push out a profile for you based on your office and you don't have to do that. Oh, we want to figure out a way where we can help manage our classroom. Okay, how can we utilize Jamf to do that? We want to be able to have students use a graphing calculator or a scientific calculator on paper-based state exams. Okay, how can we have Jamf help you do that? And that is sort of our theme, and just a few examples of the 1,000,001 ways that we use Jamf. We're at the point now where our teachers don't know how to spell it. They don't know how to say it, but they definitely know it exists and they know that it's magical. That's really all they know, is like, there's this thing called Jamf. We hear about it. It makes life better and we're just happy. They don't really understand it. So we like that. We like to be mysterious.
Well, and that really kind of speaks to what you have done and how you guys have been able to enable these teachers and empower them, especially whenever they don't have to necessarily know us by name. They know that we're just running magically in the background. And that really speaks to how you've been able to deploy this. I was curious, how has this given them more power in the classrooms? Like, what is something that they might be doing that they don't even realize it's going through Jamf?
And I'm gonna raise my hand really quick. We have left out one huge detail, Brian. You shared that all of the devices are managed by Jamf and the footprint that you have, but I bet our audience is wondering which Jamf you have. Do you have Jamf Pro or Jamf School?
Got it. We have Jamf Pro.
That's right. You sure
we are an original Jamf Pro district. We have somewhere in the ballpark of 13 or 14,000 devices that are managed. They are all managed through Jamf Pro. We are running Jamf Teacher through Jamf Pro. We make everything work through Jamf Pro.
Awesome. All right. Now, Andrea, ask your question again. I know I threw a wrench in the conversation and I apologize.
What are some of the things we're doing? What are some of the things that teachers are doing to make all the things happen?
All the things.
So, for example, right now, our teachers they're using Jamf Teacher. I just mentioned Jamf Teacher. Let's just run with Jamf Teacher. So one of the things that we really promote in our district is we're really trying to move away from the drill and kill model. We're trying to move away from high stakes testing. We're doing a lot of authentic assessment, a lot of project-based learning, a lot of challenge by choice, a lot of discovery, a lot of just good things that don't look like school used to look like. But the reality is we still have to prepare our students for the realities of the day. And those realities do include the fact that New York State is a state, just like most, that includes lots of high stakes testing to graduate. We have Regents exams in New York State. So we do have to give tests, and we do want those tests to be authentic. So our teachers are using things like Jamf Teacher to be able to say, all right, you're allowed to go onto this Google form, which is your answer sheet. You're allowed to use the GeoGebra graphing calculator, which is your tool, and maybe like one other thing, and we're going to block everything else out of your iPad for the next 40 minutes. And our teachers are fully empowered to do that on their own. They don't have to call IT. They don't have to they just go tap, tap, tap. We're happy. We're good. Their class roster updates every day. Their classes update all the time. Everything is current. The kids are current. And again, they just know it's easy. And maybe they're not giving a test. Maybe they know that, kids like the YouTube. Kids, what are they doing on their iPad today? And maybe the task of the day does involve YouTube. We don't block YouTube. We have all the appropriate legal filtering, but we don't block YouTube because I'm an educator, and educators know that YouTube has value, and there's no effective way to block it. Kids will find a way. I used to do a project, for example, where they would go on the Shoah Foundation YouTube page, and they would watch a Holocaust survivor testimony and do a whole project based on that, where they're doing a podcast and historic voices and making iMovies and doing all those things. I'm not blocking YouTube. But if a teacher says, all right, YouTube is not required today, the teacher for those 40 minutes of that class can say, no YouTube today. I'm taking that app off your iPads. And that empowers teachers to be able to do what they do, because the technology can't be the thing in the room that everyone's angry about. And the technology has to be the thing in the room that everyone is excited about. And if we give teachers the power to adapt the technology to meet their needs on a day-by-day basis, that's helping us achieve our goal of making the learning innovative and exciting, because our teachers feel like we're meeting them where they're at.
I love that. And I love that you are really focused on empowering the educator and ultimately the end user of the student in the classroom, and, allowing that creativity and that innovation to just organically happen in that learning space. But I also hear this could also, the solution that you've come up with also sounds like it's possibly given some instructional time back to that educator by being able to, set those parameters beforehand. And the second that, I don't know if you still use bells or the class period starts, it's ready to go, right? You're not having to, okay, everybody log in, everybody go to this app, turn it off, all that sort of stuff. You're really giving that time back, and giving some power and some honor to that educational person and space. I love that.
Yeah, and we're also really careful that we don't do one size fits all.
Right.
We give teachers all the tools and let them craft the learning experiences for their students that are good for them. That it can't be a one size fits all. It can't be a top down. We're telling you must do X, Y, and Z. We're going to give you a smorgasbord of robust tools. We're going to give you what you need, and you make the magic happen. Follow the curriculum, make sure students get what they need. But teaching is an art. It's not a science, it's an art. And when I was teaching 5 global history classes a day, they didn't look the same. First period, third period, fifth period, seventh period, and ninth period. You cater it based on the students in front of you, and you personalize it for those students in the room. If I have 32 students, they're not all learning the same way. And that's one of the things that the technology does, is that we're encouraging teachers to allow students to say, all right, this student wants to answer the question in a written format. This student wants to sketch. This student wants to make a podcast. This student wants to make a screen recording. This student wants to make a collage. This student wants to make a movie. And as long as they're demonstrating their learning, why not allow students to do that in a way that is empowering for them? I don't know about you, but as a student, I like learning what I like to learn about. I couldn't memorize a math formula to save my life, but I knew every word to my favorite songs on the radio. And I learned it 2 seconds. So we're trying to embrace the fact that everyone learns differently, and people like being able to express themselves in unique ways.
Well, and I love that you bring that up, right? Because what you're really doing is you guys are reaching all learners. And like you said, you're meeting them where they're at. And in thinking through that, right? How do you feel like, or how do those Jamf tools support the educators? And what's been the impact on instruction, or even with learner engagement? Like, what does that look like?
I think it changes minute by minute. And I think what Jamf has been able to allow us to do is just say yes to anything. So when our math teachers say, we have an equity problem. We're having students buy graphing calculators in a school district that has a significant number of students on free and reduced lunch. I'd rather them buy food than a graphing calculator. And we're giving them an iPad and they're walking down the hallway with both devices. That was a challenge that we needed to overcome. And we worked with Jamf to overcome it. We worked with the New York State Education Department, and we became the first district in the state to use an iPad on a paper-based Regents exam, where we were able to lock it down to make sure it was secure and we weren't blowing up state testing, but we were also dealing with an equity issue in our classroom. Another example is we worked to develop what is now known as the Jamf assessment app, where we had a student. This was based on one student. We had a student, a teacher came to me and said, Brian, this student can't take his entry exam to get into community college. This is the middle of COVID, it's the middle of the pandemic.
Right.
Because you need a PC computer. The libraries are closed. The kid doesn't have a computer at home. All he has is a school iPad. And the assessment app that the community college was using through the College Board wasn't compatible with iPad. So after several calls with the College Board, we said, we don't understand why it doesn't work with iPad. And the College Board said, well, if you can make the iPad do this, this, and this, we'll allow it, but no one's been able to do that. One phone call to Jamf, and all of a sudden I have a team of engineers meeting with me and developing an app so this one kid can get into college. And Jamf developed the app, and that one kid got into community college because he was able to use his iPad. That's just another example. Look at the whole pandemic.
Right.
How on earth would we have been able to facilitate 80, that time I think it was 8,400 students and 800 teachers remote learning? I'm able to push out, okay, we're going to add Google Meet to everyone's iPad so they can do remote learning. Click, click, done. We just make it look easy. And I don't look for anyone to say, my goodness, so much is done. Oh, that's Jamf. That's the tech department. No, what I want them to do is say, I never realized how much work goes into making things look this easy. And that's our job, is to make everything easy. So no one's frustrated. No one's like, oh, this iPad. Everyone has what they need, whether it's updating operating systems, whether it's support, whether it's an app, whether it's a program, everyone gets what they need. And all they know is they have to click once or twice. That's it.
I love your description and your energy behind the end user experience. But I do want to touch on the technical side. You talked about, we want to make it look easy. There are steps to get to that ease of use. So if you could just take a few minutes and talk to us and to our technical folks that are on the call, kind of you as the director of tech, what are you having to do on the back end to ensure that, I know you're giggling at me, but to ensure that experience as the end user?
And I don't think I'm giggling for why you think I'm giggling.
Oh, well, then I want to hear.
I'm giggling for the fact that, and all of you having breakfast with us this morning, probably many of you, most of you don't know me. I really am just a social studies teacher. Before I became the tech director, my knowledge of technology is I owned a computer. I had a technical background. I can restore a steam locomotive or rewire a subway car. So I have a mechanical brain, but I have no IT background, zero. I have a political science degree. I have a master's in education and advanced certificates in school leadership. I've never even taken a Jamf course. I'm certified to do nothing. And we have Jamf Pro, which is a little bit more intricate than Jamf School from what I hear. And I do it. I have an amazing team. My team now does a lot of it, but I taught the team how to do it. That's how easy it is. So you want to launch Jamf Teacher with Jamf Pro? It was like 10 clicks. I watched a video. I read the thing. You want to develop configuration profiles and payloads? It's actually fairly simple. You want to do things like, hey, everyone, it's time to update your iPad. I'm notorious for changing kids' wallpapers. We create smart groups. The smart group says, you're not on iOS this. And then it says like automated tasks. You click update wallpaper. I pick the ugliest color in the palette and say, please update your iPad today. I set it to check daily. And every day at 8 a.m. it checks. If that kid's iPad's not there, their background is like some zombie color with this horrible thing instead of the cute picture of the kitten. And every kid wants to get rid of it, so they update their iPad. That's super easy.
Love.
Scoping apps, making smart groups, making static groups is easy. And for what I don't know, go on Jamf Nation. I look it up. If that doesn't work, I call my friends at Jamf support. And sometimes I embarrass myself and they say, oh, Brian, you're so cute. That's like 3 clicks. And I go, oh, that's okay. But at the end of the day, I remember when I got this job, I was feeling a little overwhelmed because I knew Jamf existed. My predecessor had set Jamf up. I had an account with Jamf. I looked at it a couple of times. And all of a sudden, I'm now the proud parent of, over 10,000 devices. And I had to figure it out quickly. And I'd say it took me maybe 2 or 3 months until I got good at it. And now it's like people ask me like, Brian, how do you set this up? I know the school district called me. And I'm like, that's the reason I'm giggling is there's nothing mysterious about it. I'm not that smart. I am not trained in this area. It's very intuitive and user friendly. And what you don't know, it's easy to find the answers.
But I think that's partially going back to the educator in you, by the way. You seek that knowledge, you find it, and then you teach it and you're evangelizing that message for others, right?
Yeah. And now I've delegated it to my team. So I have team, I've sent them to Jamf trainings. And when they can't figure it out, they call me and we sit together and we figure it out and we have a good time. Some laughs. Few.
I love it. I love it. So last question, and I'm putting on my classroom educator hat. I remember the days when, a director or my principal would walk in and say, hey, look at this new thing. It's going to help you in class. Go use it. And then that was it. We were told it was great and we were told to go use it, but we weren't ever taught how to use it or why we needed to use it or that sort of thing. So you've talked a lot about how your educators are using Jamf Teacher in their classroom. I'm curious, as someone who used to be in the classroom and my principal or my director would walk in and say, here's a new tool, use it, you're going to love it. And then that was it. There was no follow-up. There was no training. It was like, go check this website. Maybe you'll learn something. I'm curious how in your role and your team has worked with that end user, that classroom educator, on how to really know how Jamf Teacher works to build those learning experiences you described earlier.
So whether it's Jamf Teacher or anything else we do, the world has changed and we have created a culture in our district where change is the norm. And that was not easy. Our teachers are no different than any other teacher. Everyone is like, change, but I love what I do. I've been doing that assignment for 20 years and the children love it, and they do. And the way we do it is we don't tell anyone to do anything. We have never told anyone to do anything. We haven't told them to use that they have to use their iPads. We have not told them that they have to use the Apple tools. We have not told them they have to use Jamf Teacher. I feel like a cross between what I hope that I'm still a trusted educator in the district. I've been here for over 20 years. I have some street cred. And I also feel like I am the district's most esteemed used car salesman, where what we do is we provide a thing. So if the thing is Jamf Teacher, I put out a really nice color glossy PDF and I send it out and I say, so many of you have been asking for a tool that does this, this, and this. We're here to say, here's what you asked for. Click here to watch a brief instructional video. Click here for a link to various instructions. and click here if you need help. And then I kind of sit back, my chair reclines, and I wait to see, look at my inbox.
Mhm.
Is my inbox, thank you? Is my inbox saying, oh my God, one more thing, seriously? Is my inbox saying the thing's not working and we're getting like a
Mhm.
ton of tech support tickets? And then when I gauge the temperature of the water, I listen. I have teachers in every building. I have trusted people in every building, and I say, how's it going? And if they say, all right, no one knows how to use this, then I'm going to bring in professional learning. If people say no one's using it, then I'm going to go, interesting. Let me figure out why. Is it because they don't understand it, or is it just because they don't want or need this? When we sell it and support it, but don't dictate it or direct it or force it, people use what works. And we've had some swings and misses. I've brought some things to the plate and I take a swing and fall to the ground and I go, dust myself off. Sorry about that, folks. And they laugh and we move on together. Jamf Teacher is one of those things where I launched it and I'm like, based on the response, everyone's like, oh my God, this is just the tool we needed. Thank you. And then I'm like, well, do you need support? And Jamf Teacher, to be totally honest, is one of those things where they're like, there's not that many buttons. Like click, click, click. There's not like, you want to do a training on it. That's great. But what are you going to train us on? Like, we got this. And I send up a follow-up saying, here's some things that people learned. It's just about communication and it's about not threatening people. So like, I'm not going to tell people that Apple Pages is 1,000,000 times better than Word. It is. It's so much better. But like, I'm almost 45 years old. I grew up on Word. I know how to use Word. Pages, I'm an Apple Distinguished Educator. And I was like, really? You want me to use Pages? Once I actually started using Pages, I was like, oh my God, this is so much better than Word. I don't ever use Word anymore. I have to convert my Pages documents to Word to send them to other humans. But I will only create things in Pages. No one forced me to do it. I had to find my way. The school district, the kids, the teachers, they find their way. And when the teachers don't find their way, do you know who finds it for them?
The students.
The kids.
Yeah.
The kids teach the teachers. And when one teacher does something, the kids are going to make all the other teachers do the same thing if it's good. So the kids are like our best advocates. And the best teachers will listen to kids every time. And the best administrators listen to both the kids and the educators. When they tell us they need something, my job's not to be like, really, you want another thing? My job's to say, okay, I hear you, and make it happen. And Jamf is one of those partners who we have where if I can't figure out how to make it happen, I know that I pick up a phone and someone at Jamf calls me back and says, how can we help? Going back to my show.
I love that. And I love how you tied the pretty bow right around all of it, right? Because really at the end of the day, as an educator, what you're doing is that you are allowing for the solution to allow students to be creative and to get to where they need to go with the information. Kind of how you explained in your example earlier, right? And so it makes me very happy to hear. It warms my heart. And the reason why is because, at Jamf, we are very passionate about helping customers succeed with Apple. But what you're doing is helping students succeed in the classroom. So with that, I do want to say thank you so much for your time today, Brian. This was truly a joy and this was a pleasure. And of course, if you have any other questions, people, please feel free to drop them here in the chat. We'd love to hear from you and also get back to you with any answers that you may have.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm going to highlight just a couple of things Brian brought up in his conversation with us today. One is Jamf Nation is a huge, huge community of Jamf and Apple admins. I think we've coined it as one of the largest in the world. It's an online, platform that you can hop in, ask your questions, ask your peers. It could be across the country, where somebody has the same issue or question that you have, and we're able to hop in there and answer those. Like you said, Brian, our students are our biggest cheerleaders. Well, our Jamf Nation members are our biggest cheerleaders, and they have most of the answers. I would say a lot of our solutions and answers come from Jamf Nation's database. So thank you for mentioning that earlier. We are also going to drop a couple of resources into the chat with, how to use Jamf Teacher, how to use that resource in your classroom for those of you who are not as up to speed as Brian is in his journey with Jamf and Jamf Educator and Jamf Teacher. We're going to drop that in for you. And we also love to hear your stories. We love to hear how you're using our tools in education, how you're using them in classroom, how you're using Apple plus Jamf to make a better experience for your end users, that is your students in your classrooms. You can reach out to me directly. I'm on Twitter, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, I'm on all the socials. I'll make sure we drop those in as well. You can reach Andrea if you're looking to, you want to talk more to a salesperson and kind of how we could support your district and moving in the direction of Jamf solutions. We're here for you. And using Brian's words, I'm going to take them. We hear you. I will say we do hear at the voice of our customer. We do listen. We take those suggestions, and we were able to help that one kiddo take his exam and get to that next phase of his life. So thank you, Brian, for being here. Andrea, you're always an amazing co-host. And just another shameless plug, we may have planned this session using Pages, Brian. So there's that. Yeah.
And
So
thank
with
you.
that, yeah.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for the opportunity. And thank you for helping us succeed with Apple so we can help our teachers succeed in the classroom, which helps our students succeed in life. I think that's the flow, something like that.
That is.
Lots of thank yous to go around. So thank you.